Amy Schmittauer, are you ready to fearlessly question today?
I am fearlessly ready.
Maybe the best answer I've gotten from that question. I don't know. I'll think about it, but
That
it's pretty good.
one was on the fly, so.
Um, and we go a little bit of ways back, not ridiculously way back, but chatted with you before. I just wanted to ask you this question really quickly. It's an observation I've made over the time that I followed you. If this whole marketing thing doesn't kind of work out for you, do you feel comfortable knowing that you have a very long and bright future as a clever wordplay titler?
No, I've not quite come to terms with that. I don't think uh I don't think of myself as really a wordsmith or anything. I think I know my material really well, and I think once you're confident enough in knowing your material, you can word it any way you want. So that's the luxury, I think.
Let me rephrase as a using of the last name in the title with clever suggestions and ways because I think your original
Mm.
YouTube channel is Schmitastic. Is that not
Yeah,
right?
that was not
That doesn't.
necessarily a business decision. It was just sort of my first
Oh,
online
we're
presence with
just having fun here,
YouTube.
Amy. Let's loosen up. Let's loosen the tie a little bit here. Give me a little bit here. I mean, we don't have to be serious all the time. Okay, fine. So you're not on board with that. That's okay. Maybe I'll work on that. Maybe we'll come around to that idea. But why don't you go ahead and first, before we kind of kick things off, catch everybody up, tell everybody your story as it relates to fearlessly questioning being ready.
Well, I feel like that probably goes back to like 5 years ago when I decided to start working for myself. Probably the biggest question that I had to be fearless in asking myself was, is this something that I'm prepared to do? Is this something I'm prepared to take all the consequences for? And I don't know that I answered all those questions, but to some extent, I don't think you're going to. But I was in love with fundraising, lobbying, and politics, and I thought that was what my life was going to be survived around. And now it's around marketing. So that adjustment, making that decision in my life was a really, really big one, especially when you go to school for something and you focus so hard and you work really hard and you make people happy, and then you're going into a territory where you really don't have any of that background or any sort of safety net to catch you. So I would say that definitely was the first time I had to fearlessly question myself for the first time. But yeah, that's really how I got into the industry. I made the jump. I did the best I could with what I had, and I took a chance, and I chalked it up to being young and able to try things, and I had Plan B and Plan C available to me, but I haven't needed them yet.
I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but for some reason, I feel like you would be somebody who would hate a lobbyist. That's just my person. No,
I
no,
don't think
that's the
I
kind of vibe I get from you.
Yeah, but I don't think I knew how to hate a lobbyist before I started working for one. And even then, I got what our purpose was. I understood it. And so I think that because my perspective started so early, um, no, I don't. I really don't.
Okay, well, at least I know that.
Yeah,
I will hand out this award. I hand out fake awards all the time to every guest, and I think you
perfect.
would probably win the award for most intimidating guest. I don't know why, even though I've spoken to you in the past. I'm terrified. It's like you remember that movie Anaconda? It came out like '96. Like I just feel like a big freaking snake's gonna come out and chop me off if I say
Well, if
something
it
wrong.
makes you feel better, I feel the same way about you right now.
I think there's something that's like we're the same type of magnets. I think like we
Yeah.
repel each
Yeah,
other,
yeah,
and
yeah. We're
I don't. But whatever. So we will agree to not like each other and potentially be afraid of each other as we talk.
I don't think I'd be here a second time if that was the case.
Well, I just think you're a good sport. You're a nicer person than I am.
Oh,
So,
thanks.
well, let's first not fearless question. We'll let you ease into it even a little bit more. Amy, how many days in a row have you made it without leaving your house?
Hmm. I don't know if I ever made it. I don't know. I think early on it was easy to go like a whole week without leaving the house. Technically, I have to leave the house because I have to let the dog out. But it was easier earlier on because it was so exciting to be able to work from home. but I grew out of that really quickly. It was just too intense. It was just too much. I was talking to a dog all day and the internet, and there's only so much of that. Even though I thought I didn't necessarily need people and an office in my life, I found out that I probably do need some of it. I need a balance. So maybe a week, maybe 5 days.
That was quite an elaborate answer, and
Yeah.
a lot longer than I thought. I thought I was going to maybe get 3 or 4 out of you, but a week is pretty impressive.
I'm sure it was a week early on in working for myself.
I'm going on 3 or 4 days right now. There's a chicken pox situation we're monitoring here, so I'm on lockdown, and
No.
it's pretty terrible. But if I seem a little off today, that's probably why. It's just me, 2 kids, limited like adult interaction. So don't hold it against me. Um, so before we kind of get into this, I want to set it up a little bit. And I have a terrible habit of creating vague titles that no one has any idea why I'm referencing them. Maybe someday I'll change, but who knows? So you kind of recently hosted your first live event, and I watched your humble recap video. I will say
It's very humble.
it was. I honestly I couldn't tell which way it went. I wasn't sure how you felt about it. But anyways, you put these string of live events together, and I was impressed slash I don't know what the word is. I guess I didn't know that is even possible. I guess at this point for somebody in your don't take this the wrong way. Somebody in your position, we'll call it. Is that not offensive?
No, because
Is
you're saying exactly what I thought initially.
and if I don't say it that way, I feel like we don't properly set up the conversation. And
Sure.
again, I'm just waiting for that snake. I'm just looking over. I'm going to say something. It's just I'm not going to be here anymore. Um, So that's kind of where we're coming at. So first, I guess I'll give you a second here to kind of catch everybody up and give kind of everyone your first impressions on that whole scenario and tell people how it went.
Yeah, I mean, let's go like back to that exactly what you just said. That's exactly what I was thinking. Probably like 6 months ago now. So it was something I always wanted to do was be able to travel more and get in person with people more because I feel like that's where real impact happens, and that's certainly where impact has been able to help me in my career. So I was just trying to figure out what does that actually look like for me, and I figured it was like, oh, I need to be famous or write a book or whatever, like to do something like this. So it was something I've thought about for a really long time. I just didn't know what the context of it would be to make it possible. And then I actually participated in a mastermind group. It was one of the like one-time mastermind groups where you show up for a day and everybody kind of talks about their scenario, and there's an industry leader there that helps you kind of get through this conversation and come up with real action items and help you with your goals. This one was hosted by Chris Ducker, who wrote the book Virtual Freedom. He's also a dear friend of mine. But I really wanted an opportunity to kind of sit with him in this type of format and get some feedback before I'd even brought up any scenario of something I wish I had needed help with. He just looked me straight in the eye and just said, like, Amy, you need to take your show on the road. And I was like, pfft, like, this is crazy. This is something I've always thought about. Like, what? Wait, why do you think that? Like, what do you see when you see that? So it was really great for me because that opportunity, again, a live interaction that's moved the needle for my company, my brand, my business. He knocked down a lot of barriers that I had in what this might look like, and I started planning it immediately. So essentially, it's an opportunity to spend a whole day with small businesses in a group consulting atmosphere, more around the type of, not like a conference, but more of a workshop, a very intimate, small gathering where we can kind of go through the step-by-step process of creating an effective video content marketing strategy. And before you even talk about the camera, most of the morning we talk about how you even come up with these ideas in the first place that are going to attract your audience. And it's really, really exciting that we went through all the planning. We, being my partner in crime on this, I hired Jess Ostroff from Don't Panic Management. She has a virtual assisting company. And so the two of us are putting it on together. And we had our first event here in town this past weekend, and it was phenomenal. Actually, I'm still waiting for like the snake of the event to come out and bite me because nothing went wrong. The curriculum was extremely well received. I'm probably going to add and change a few things here and there, but for the most part, it was a big success, which is exciting because that particular event is about a month before we do the rest of them, and then we're going to bang out 6 more cities really quickly. So it was a good amount of time to make sure we could experiment and make sure it was on point, and it was, and now we can just charge ahead and get the rest of them done too. So it's pretty cool.
I tell you what, really quickly, Jess Offstroff, is that how you say her last name?
Ostroff, yeah.
That is one person I do never want to upset because she knows everybody, and I don't
She
even want to
knows
know what would happen.
everybody, and
I don't know what would happen. Honestly, I'm
she
terrified.
also she doesn't shy away from her feelings.
I've never had the pleasure, but if I ever do see her in like real life, I will make sure to just have like a bouquet of flowers just
But
readily
she's
available.
super nice. Yeah, she's extremely nice. She's one of my closest friends. She runs a tight operation for some of the best marketing thought leaders in the world, and I am more than happy to not only have her as a friend, but have her teaming up with me on this, because I think that's another big reason why it went so well. Event planning isn't really my thing, which is another barrier that I'd broken down for myself.
I keep telling Jess, I said I'm going to stop emailing you, but every time there's somebody else that I keep finding on the show that I have to email her about. I was like,
yeah.
Jess, I promise you won't have to deal with me at some point.
Yeah.
Anyways, enough about her. And I regrettably, too, I've been punching myself in the face since about Saturday morning because I wasn't able to actually be there because little people may not know we actually are about, an hour and a half away from each other.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm very sad. Maybe
you had a birthday party, didn't you?
My niece turned 2, and you know what?
That's a big one.
I mean, those are things that I was not going to be able to show up to my family ever again if I didn't go. So I said, Amy, I said, niece,
the 2-year-old birthday party.
It was close. I just even if you just hinted at it, I got beat up just by even like thinking like
I know.
not showing up. But
I beat you up enough over it. Hopefully, we can get you to fly to like the West Coast to come hang.
I tell you, if you were doing it last year, because I was out at Social Media Marketing World last year, I would have totally put that one, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, we've lined it up pretty well with that event too, so that's exciting.
Which and I think you're speaking at too, which is again, there's a lot of cool people at that event, but I will sadly not be there. Yeah. Anyways, enough with the dilly-dallying.
Enough with what you're not doing this year.
Yes, enough with what I'm not doing. The first real fearless question, you're going to also win the award for the longest delayed intro into the show for actually getting into the real question. So congratulations.
That's ironic. I'm pretty good at quick intros. I am on YouTube.
But so anyways, the first real question I have to you is how and maybe why do we convince ourselves that we're not ready?
I think that's an easy one. Same reason why I decide lots of times I'm not ready. Probably right now I'm telling myself I'm not ready to write a book, even though I've put it out there that I want to and that I had a goal to do so. It's really, really interesting. I think that as much as time is valuable, people don't realize the value of time. And what's even more interesting about that is how much time we've had in our lives and how many experiences we've had and what we've been able to do has probably prepared us more than we know. And we usually don't get to take advantage of that until it comes out of nowhere. So when we actually have to make the decision for something to come out of nowhere, it won't happen because we're just sort of procrastinators in the way that we're going to take advantage of the experiences and knowledge that we've had in our life. So I think it's extremely easy to say you're not ready because there's always one more thing you can do. There's always one more obstacle you can come about. There's always one more expertise or thing you can research. And so it's super easy to say you're not ready. But what's interesting is when you just sort of play devil's advocate in just one of those times that you're suggesting that you're not ready and try something. Specifically for me, most of the time I'm hearing people are like, oh, videos like 1 or 2 years from now. I'm like, wow, really? Like, good luck 1 or 2 years from now. I'm happy I started 5, 6 years ago, not 2 years from now, because it's so incredible the impact that it can have on your audience, especially with it still being something that so many brands and businesses and people say that should be down the road. Therefore, a lot of people are just not doing it enough or well. And so it's such a good opportunity to just try. And that's, one example of kind of beating down that barrier is something we do at the blog every year. April and August, we have vlog every day in April or August. It's called Veda. And this is my way of saying, you guys aren't ready to make video, I get it, but let's just do this challenge, and there's a bunch of people doing it, and we all support each other, and all you got to do is talk to a camera and answer the question of the day, which could be, what's your favorite color? And it's all about just breaking down the idea that you can't talk to a camera and you can't do it well. Well, you probably can't, because if you've never tried it, it's not going to be fun. You've got to get your practice in. So that's one example. You just have to give yourself an opportunity to play devil's advocate and give something a try, and then when you fail, then you either decide, I never want to do that again, and you're going to stop thinking about it, and it's not going to be a priority anymore, or you're going to keep regretting it because you want to keep trying.
I can tell you, for one thing, that challenge is no joke, because I actually, when you did it the last time, it popped up in my stream somewhere, somebody that I was following somewhere was doing it. I was like, oh, wow, Amy, she's really made it now. I'm seeing the challenge thing. I was like, it was just the internet's a small world moment for me.
It sure is.
But anyways, so you kind of hinted at my next question. I don't know if I was leading you in there, but you talked about the decisions that you kind of have to make. And the question that I want to know is that what kind of decisions then do you have to make to be ready to not be ready, if that makes sense?
I think it's just the decision to stop thinking about it. It's almost like the decision to not answer this question, right? Because you basically have to say, if I continue thinking too hard about this, keep saying there's not enough time, keep asking people how they get it done, you're ultimately, these are to some extent, they're not research anymore. They're not trying to educate yourself. They're just procrastination. People ask, how do you do 3 videos a week? Or how do you have inbox 0? Or I ask people, like, how do you go to the gym 3 hours a day? It's all a matter of, like, priority. And once your priority shifts and once you decide something is worth your time and worth trying, whether you're ready or not, you're going to do it, and you're going to keep going until you get better and until it's working for you. What's really funny is during the workshop that we do, I kind of subject my guest speaker and myself into playing a video that we made a long time ago. So not necessarily like the most proud moment of the day. But what that does is, before these people who may have never made a video before are being challenged to do so, they're seeing us come off of our pedestals for a few minutes, play something that we're not that excited about, and critique ourselves. And I'm not proud of whatever I played and whatever I did and whatever I said they should not do in their future content, but I am really proud that that content is online. Because if you learn nothing else about me by going to my YouTube channel, you can see that I've grown. And I think that that's really, really important when you're getting to know somebody and deciding that they are a thought leader in your life.
Wouldn't you have a hard time trusting somebody if they wouldn't show you that video?
I don't think that it would occur to a lot of people. I don't know that I think if I'm trying to think a little bit bigger about that question, then yes. I think if you're not willing to share, like, do you think I haven't been there before? Let me tell you what I did at that point. Let me tell you what I did that's the same as what you're doing right now. I procrastinated. I waited. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't ready. I didn't ask for help. And here's what happened in turn. It took longer, or I had more failures, yada, yada, yada. I think it's not that I wouldn't trust somebody. I think that the relationship would accelerate more quickly and more organically if you did share it.
I'll leave it right there because I don't think I can say anything better than that. Amy, we're going to give you a break. We'll let you towel off and turn the tables on the audience. And it is your turn to ask them a fearless question. I only gave you about 15 seconds to prepare for this. So no pressure if it sucks. I'm not going to hold it against you. What is that question? Something you've always wanted to know the answer to, but we're a little unsure of the response. You have the opportunity to ask it today. What is it?
What would I fearlessly ask of the audience? I think every time I talk to somebody and I'm dying to know what the answer is, I'm dying to know if they've looked at their efforts and decided that there's a rhyme and a reason for everything, because I believe that if you don't know why you're doing everything, then you're doing it as a hobby. So this includes everything from social media to, how you take care of your kids. What are you doing and why is it that you're doing that? Because it's sort of like the idea of a sales funnel. You have to start from the top and work your way through it. And it's the same thing with social media. It's the same thing with video. It's the same thing with email marketing. It's the same with everything. What is the next step? What do you need to know to get to your goal? And how is everything working together to make that happen? Do you have any idea what that actually is for you, or are you just using the shotgun method?
All right, I think that might have been the longest fearless question we've had asked to the audience. So you've got a lot of rewards that you can take home with you. I'll have the plaques mailed to you here shortly.
Okay, I can't wait.
You can, yeah, don't hide your excitement. It's okay. It's a pretty prestigious.
I really do want a plaque, though. I really hope you do send it.
I need to stop saying that jokingly because everyone says that.
No, I kind of want to, because I actually have like a backdrop in my videos. I would put it there. I would put it in the backdrop.
Well, I will have to go see my trophy guy and see what I can do. I'll have to have something worked up. If anybody wants to chime in with their answer to Amy's question, we will feel free to sprinkle those in as we go along. But I do want to get right back on track to this thing. We kind of touched on this a little bit, but this is kind of the moment in time that you don't want to share with people, looking back. If you could go back in time and do something before you were ready, what would it be that you didn't do?
I think I would have answered the question I just asked, because things didn't truly start working as efficiently as I would have liked in terms of just my networking and marketing strategy until I'd built out a better structure for my content plan. And essentially what that did was tell me all those things. Why am I doing what I'm doing? What is this going to do to move the needle? How am I getting people to move from A to B so that when they get B to C, they're buying a product, they're buying services, they're moving my brand awareness in the right direction? And I waited 2 years after I launched the blog, I think, to do that. And I think that was a huge mistake. I think I would be somewhere completely different if I would have been more strategic in my launch. I guess it's hard to say you're going to be ready every time, but you also should prepare for the launch. It's not about perfectionism, but again, it's just understanding why you're doing what you're doing and how that's all going to work so you can make the most of it.
Well, we did a show back when we launched this thing, Fearlessly Questioning, with Ryan Hanley, Action versus Perfection, and kind of he's a more of a I'm just going to go do it sort of guy and not really care about what happens after. And I was trying to kind of sway him to the side of a little bit of saying, like, well, if we just take, like, let's say 5 minutes and think about the thing for a second and then actually get that together, what would that look like? And, he just ran right by me and said, forget it, Joey, I don't want to be on your show anymore. No, I think that's kind of what you're saying with it, not be, is just you always want to keep moving and do stuff, but at the end of the day, at least understand what some of those decisions that you can't take back are going to do.
Yeah, I think it's just too easy to hear from every which way what you should be doing, and that's a good enough answer for you. And I don't believe that anymore. I mean, I've done that quite a bit because I'm self-educated in this industry, but, if someone's telling me I got to be on Snapchat, I'm not just going to join Snapchat. I'm going to decide that this thing has a purpose, because then that is going to make me prioritize it in the capacity that it should be. And that's what I feel like people don't actually do, that I didn't do, even in various ways, that I would go back and do again.
Well, this is an interesting rabbit hole that you've just opened up. Let's see if we can kind of wrangle this in some sort of meaningful fashion. So with all of this content, all of this information, all of this advice, we have so many people telling us what we're ready for and why or how and all that good stuff, but necessarily that's just general blanket advice, right? It's not actually if we're ready or not. How do we avoid falling into everyone else's readiness trap?
What do you mean?
So like if I watch one of your videos and it says something about Twitter or Instagram or whatever that that next thing is, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I get all pumped up about it. It's like I'm gonna go do this, even though like you said you haven't taken the time to figure it out. But we're so eager to listen to what somebody else.
Mhm.
We think that they've already done the work for us, and that by listening to that advice and actually acting on it, that is somehow a shortcut to getting to where we need to go, even if that is in the wrong direction. So I guess how do we filter through all that noise?
I think that's I'm glad you elaborated on that because now I have a better answer for you. I think that in the same way that you decided that they were worth listening to and whatever they're on the cusp of, you want to be aware of that as well and execute on your side. Hopefully you've been following this person for one really big and important reason, and it's that you've somehow taken any advice that they may have given you and gotten results from it. If that is the case, then you're in good shape. If you're just following somebody because they're good on camera or they're just a fun personality or you feel like they're your best friend, but you've really not gotten anything out of that relationship, which is supposed to be coaching you into taking further steps with them in the future, then you really need to think about, okay, well, now they're saying I need to do this. Do that, test it, and then see what happens, because it's not always going to be a good fit for you. It's not always going to be what's going to move the needle for your brand. It's not always going to be where your audience is hanging out. And I think most people are ready to say, okay, Amy says that I got to be on Instagram, full speed ahead, Instagram all day long. But they're just plugging away and they're not testing it. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've had with people because I'll do a free 15-minute consult with pretty much anyone that signs up, and I
Those
hear,
conversations have to be fun sometimes, I'd imagine.
oh my
Not to,
gosh,
not to, not,
well, half the time, they're like, wow, I watch you on YouTube.
and by fun I mean depressing.
No, they're not
Oh, come,
depressing.
Amy, there's a
They're
few
not
that are.
depressing, but what bums me out is when I hear I'm using IFTTT, I'm using Buffer, I'm using Hootsuite, I'm using this, I'm using that, I'm using this, and then I get to the end of the conversation and I find out they're not even making content. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, those tools mean nothing. They mean that you're somehow automating and developing systems around nothing. And that's what bothers me, is that someone said, go use all these things because that was the quick answer that you wanted, but you didn't understand, you didn't embrace, you didn't test to find out what that was actually going to do for you.
Bums me out is a synonym for depressed, but I won't dwell on that.
I don't like the word depressed.
It's all right, Amy. Okay, well, because I think that's a whole part of this show too. Is at the core of what we're trying to do is like, listen, think for yourself, figure out how to actually read the stupid map as opposed to just taking someone's directions. You know what I mean? Like, understand that that's the big part of it. And I know that obviously you do a little bit of that. And if you had one piece of advice, if we could just stop for one actionable piece of advice moment here in the show, to make sure that somebody actually does that thing or it can pick it out, what would you tell them how to spot that, how to look for it? Any idea? That might be an impossible question, but
It's kind of impossible. I would just say, if something gels with you, it either does or it doesn't. I don't think that everyone's going to understand why we do certain things, but if they're open to learning about it, there's going to be something that if you educate yourself enough around it, you know that that's the direction you should go. And I think that you should follow your gut because a lot of times you're right.
all right. I will not ask any more impossible questions. At least I
Please
don't
stop.
think.
Really. Impossible
But
questions are impossible.
I will get some responses from your question that you asked. And Sally Sue Ember says, motivation is the most important determination anyone can make about anything. Agreed. I would probably agree. And then we got Peter who says, how, who, why, when, what, and where are the keys to decisiveness? Also very sound advice, Peter. I appreciate you guys jumping into the conversation. And I'm going to wrap it up with this question to you, one of the final fearless questions. What are you currently not ready for?
I would say I'm currently not ready to give up. And I mean that because this is a really fast and crazy moving industry. And I've had to pivot a few times in just the short 5 or 6 or so years that I've been doing this. And I'm not ready to give up on the space, but I know that I'm growing and I'm wanting to be able to do and absorb and teach greater things. And I hope that I will be able to embrace that, but I'm not willing to give up what I'm doing now. And that scares me a little bit because if you don't learn to pivot, if you don't learn to go in the direction of the way things are going, then you're going to fall behind.
If you're thinking about giving up, that means that it's not working or you're not satisfied. Which
No,
one?
I don't think it's not working, and I definitely am satisfied.
So that I'm
But
just wrong on all accounts.
no, I just don't, I don't, I'm, as much as I'm good at adapting to change, I don't want things to change sometimes.
You said that you were destined, I don't know if that's the word you used, to teach bigger things.
Hmm.
What are those bigger things besides lobbying?
No, I don't think that. I don't think Plan B or Plan C is coming into account anytime soon, and that's where that lies. I think we're in such an interesting time for social media marketing. I posted a video today even about Facebook advertising. And, it used to be that going and buying a billboard or buying a TV commercial was all that you knew you needed to do, and I'm sure there's more research behind it, but that's pretty much the decision you make, and you just tell yourself the numbers that are going to equate to that. And now we have this thing called Facebook advertising, which is now the easy advertising decision. But the difference is that there's an enormous amount of information behind how you can do it the most effectively. And so I think it's really interesting that now people are going in that direction, but they also may or may not be doing the same amount of research that they were doing for a billboard that they're now doing for Facebook ads. And I really hope that they are absorbing so many opportunities that social media has to offer. But at the same time, I wonder how much longer social media is going to be that social, because advertising is becoming such a large component of it. So I think that it's something that I don't want to be a specialist in forever, because I don't know that that's a feasible business model for me. I think that I have a greater capacity to teach business growth and marketing as a whole, and this whole side of digital is a very small piece of that pie.
Now, I guess, is there anything even bigger beyond that? Just business and marketing? Or is that as far
I'm
as it goes?
pretty stoked about that stuff, so
That's, I shouldn't deflate your balloon just yet. I should.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I can hear the snake getting closer. That's like, well, just whoa. Hold on. All right. Okay. Well, I guess the thing that I really want to wrap things up with, uh, outside of all of that, first off, tell everybody where they can catch you live, because you've got I said like 10 and like my pre-show thing, which is way off, but there's like what, 6 stops I think.
Yeah, we have 6 more. I'm looking at my whiteboard because I always forget them. Um, After Social Media Marketing World, I'll be traveling to
Which is San Diego, right?
San Diego. That's right. I'll be speaking on the 27th of March, I believe. I'll be going to San Francisco after that, and then right back to San Diego, Dallas, and then Austin, Texas, New York City, and then Orlando, Florida.
All right, you have some interesting guest speakers. I know I missed the one at Columbus, which was a little devastating because I'm a bit of a fanboy for Austin, but don't tell him. Uh,
Austin killed it. He was so much fun. And it was fun for me even because I've learned so much from him over the years. Just an absolutely incredible tech reviewer on YouTube and totally knows the space backwards and forwards. But he flattered me big time by saying that he learned a few things in my class. So that was a blast, and he was really helpful and he was great. Um, Also, Sue B. Zimmerman, who's the Instagram expert, is going to be joining me in Dallas and New York City, which is fantastic because I think if you're thinking about multimedia as a whole, Instagram is definitely a space you want to be thinking about right now, especially for video, because not enough people are using video on Instagram. It's actually a very small percentage of the user base, so definitely an opportunity there. Stephanie Carls, who is a great online brand personality, she'll be speaking in Austin, Texas, and I'll also have Adonde Thorne, who leads the Swoozy YouTube channel, which is a really fun girls and gaming and a little bit of animation kind of stuff that he does there. He'll be speaking in Orlando.
And really quick on Swoozy, because I wasn't familiar with him until you launched the tour, and I checked out his channel a little bit. And I mean, I've thought this way for a long time, but if you could just share, I'm sure you share some of the same thoughts, but people don't quite understand or realize YouTube the way that it's perceived with people that are our age and younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it is, like people are more like freaked out of meeting the people they watch on YouTube than they would of somebody that's on like an NBC sitcom, right?
That's right. I mean, it's crazy. If you ever attend VidCon in Anaheim, California, which used to be a YouTube conference and is now come and meet your favorite YouTuber, it's insane. Like I literally was watching bodyguards punt little girls away from these boys that have YouTube channels, and I was like, oh my God, they're all like 12 and 14 years old. This is crazy.
But even I guess the reason I bring it up is because to a lesser extent, that happens with your business when you take that content onto video. I guess we kind of share that same passion, but I don't think people understand that connection that's made and through that platform specifically, and the power that it actually has. Obviously, you can do it pretty badly and it doesn't work, but I mean, the fact that these people that are kind of at the corner of this are basically the entertainment giants of the future, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about any show, or I guess I feel like a TV show would be the closest comparison, because you're being given a regular opportunity, whether it's on a weekly basis or more often, to develop a relationship with this personality that's on TV or whatever. YouTube is the same thing, because you're able to live vicariously through somebody with this digital screen. It offers that same sort of bond, and except you actually have a greater access to them because it's the internet. So it's really, really crazy. I think people will understand it if there's somebody that they find that they enjoy following online in terms of video. But for the people that don't, that's the best comparison I can give it.
And so I guess maybe after this is all done, we can maybe talk about creating our own little Tiger Beat teen YouTube magazine.
Yeah, exactly.
And
we need something like that. That'd be a good idea.
I got all sorts of them, But anyways, I'll give you one opportunity to plug the Orlando gig a little further. Thomas Hanna wants to know, where at in Orlando are you going?
When am I going to Orlando? I'm going to be, the Orlando event is May 2nd. I'm looking at my whiteboard again. Saturday, May 2nd.
All right. And Amy, I do appreciate you taking the time to be with us here today. Best of luck on the tour. How can people actually go buy tickets for this thing? Like, where can they go do that? And where do you want them to go find out more about you?
If you go to SavvySexySocialLive.com, that's the website. That'll be the landing page for the live event. But you can also, you'll be on the rest of my website. So go check out some videos and stuff. And if you're more curious about like the technical side of thing with video, or just any sort of execution in terms of social media that I do on my end, I've created a whole resources page. So that'll be up in the menu bar, just SavvySexySocial.com/resources. Lots of tools and tricks and stuff hanging out there if you want to dig in.
All right, and Amy, of course, thank you for taking the time. And if anybody wants to hear the question Amy's most afraid to ask herself in her life and her business, we've got that up on the site now. You can go to fearlesslyquestioning.com and get that as well, along with all of our past guests that have appeared on the show. They've all answered the question. You can see who answered it best or worst, I don't know, or which one is most inspiring for you. But fearlesslyquestioning.com, right there on the homepage there. Feel free to grab all of those videos. And Amy, we will get out of here, and we will catch everybody in the next one. Thanks a lot again. Take it easy, everybody.
Thanks, Joey.